If tanking absolutely everything while having 9k ward on 300 plus corruption makes you giggle like a small child and you like attacking extremely fast, I have just the build for you. The name of the game is Vengeance together with Healing Hands. Healing Hands is going to provide you a lot of damage that is going to be triggered every time you're going to be auto-attacking, and Vengeance is going to reduce all of the incoming damage by absurd amounts while also having a naturally extremely fast attack speed. This allows you to proc Healing Hands as an offensive melee ability multiple times per second, and on top of that, that is going to heal you, and later on, after you have found the low life affix on your hand, is going to generate huge amounts of ward, making you extremely tanky. For this, I'm going to have the Maxroll planner linked down below, where you can check up on literally everything and also the passives, also the skills, all of the equipment. We do have multiple versions depending on which way you want to go. Both of them are performing extremely well. We have a non-crit earlier version, we have a non-crit later version that is basically focused on level 85 plus or so when you start acquiring very good gear with like 2 LP for example. And again, we also have the crit version, again an early and a late version. I suggest you check out which one of these you like more. Both of them are incredible in my opinion. And there's not really a big winner here for me. Obviously, the crit version scales way harder into the late game. But if you don't have the items necessary, you are 100% fine with also playing the non-crit late game version until you can acquire all of the equipment that you need for the crit version. The differences here are literally only in the equipment. The passives and skills are 95% the same. The only real change that you have there is on the heal aura, where you are going to incorporate the additional crit chance and the crit multipliers. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go through the skills real quick. The skills are phenomenal in terms of the synergy between each other. Vengeance has an incredible attack speed with rapid strikes, and it's also going to have fire resistance shred naturally baked into the spell, and is also going to give you a global more 20% damage multiplier, which is going to help boost up the damage of the Healing Hands, because that is literally our main source of damage, and Vengeance only really functions as a delivery tool for the Healing Hands. There is also other options out there that use Rife, but I think Vengeance is superior in terms of defense. In quality of life, you might argue that Rife is a little bit better because it pulls in the mobs every second attack. That's feeling quite nice, but in terms of scaling, Vengeance just does the better job because mainly of bolster. As you can see here, you get 50% increased armor, and you literally constantly have 25% less damage taken. So especially if you are interested in pushing high in arena or pushing very high corruption levels, Vengeance, in my opinion, is the way to go. Healing Hands is being delivered multiple times per second through Vengeance onto the enemies. We do that by incorporating the Seraph Blade right here, and we are also gonna deal fire damage. This is also gonna be further amplified by stuff like the Adorned Idols here, where we have fire melee penetration or skills on the passives, especially in the Paladin tree, for example, Righteous Firebrand here. But the main objective with Healing Hands is not only to deal damage, but it's also there for our safety. In this case, with the Divine Barrier, we are gonna convert the healing into ward whenever you are able to put the low life experimental affix on your gloves. Ideally, you want to have a T1 here so that you don't lose as much health while you are not in combat and fighting. But even if this is like a higher thing, if you're a softcore, that is no problem. You just press Sigils of Hope a little bit, you're gonna get healed up and you can start fighting. And as soon as you hit an enemy, your ward instantly goes to like 2000 and you start healing yourself up very easily. This is being done again by the conversion that is happening here with Divine Barrier, where as soon as you have a ward per second based affix on your gear, the conversion instantly happens and you're not gonna heal anymore, but instead you're gonna get ward. And this is further amplified by stuff like Urgent Healing, for example, where you just create that much more ward. And on top of that, we also use increased healing effectiveness to further boost this effect up. In this case, we are also stacking a lot of increased healing effectiveness wherever we can. For example, on the amulet right here, also on the rings, everywhere you can basically get increased healing effectiveness on, you really want to have it, because not only does it boost your defenses in terms of ward generation, but it also affects your damage coming from the healing hands offensively. So you're basically double dipping on that stat in terms of defense and offense. And with the Cleric's Wrath, we are gonna deal 1% more damage per specialized buff skill level. And we obviously have two of those specialized. We have the Holy Aura and we also have Sigils of Hope. Again, their primary usage is to just boost the healing damage, but we obviously profit of a lot of very good stuff on the Holy Aura and the Sigils of Hope as well. For example, we have a Cleanses All Ailments on use for the Holy Aura, especially if you're playing hardcore. This is going to come in clutch, and we're also profiting off of more resistances. For example, Fire Penetration, more fire damage, Ignite Chance, more attack speed, and later on, if you're in the crit late, you're also going to go for more crit chance, or sorry, increased crit chance, and also additional crit multiplier. And on the Sigils of Hope, which in my opinion is unfortunately the clunkiest to use spell in the build. I settled with this setup. Right now you basically have to stand still and not attack for maybe 1 second for 23 seconds, and then you need to do it again to recast your Sigils of Hope. I think this spell is definitely due to a complete rework in terms of that. Because the stacks are not replenishing the duration, they're just counted as their separate instances, so therefore they are not staying at 4. They're basically needing to be recast, but the Last Wish note right here is going to help you not having to struggle with that much, because during an echo, you are going to be able to just keep killing monsters and resummoning your sigils, because the sigils are going to give you more healing per active sigil. They're also going to give you more damage, so it's really important to have those up, especially because of the block chance that we have here. For example, this one is going to give you 12% additional block chance, making you that much more tanky in this case. And then, in my opinion, the best spell in the entire game, Volatile Reversal. At first, I wasn't really a big fan, but after leveling this character to almost level 100 in hardcore, we are still on the journey, I absolutely love the spell because it has a fun little mini game in there. You're basically getting teleported 2 seconds back in time to that position, and also that health and mana pool, although that is basically being completely negated here with the Time Lost Wisdom and the Time Lost Vitality. And you are getting a huge chunk of benefits. For example, you're getting enemy damage taken plus 30%, you're getting global attack speed, you're getting more movement speed, and crazy bonuses all around. And the best thing about this is, with enough cooldown reduction, this bonus right here is actually stacking. So if you're able to reduce the cooldown of the Volatile Reversal, which starts at 24, but you get a lot. You get 60% here, you get 300% here, and you also have increased cooldown recovery speed on your items. You are going to be able to stack this for a little bit. Let's say your cooldown on the Volatile Reversal is 3 seconds. So for the first use, you're going to get these 30% enemy damage taken on top. And then if you cast it again, while there is 1 second left on the debuff on the enemy, you're going to cast it again and get it a second time for that 1 second duration, which you're obviously going to deal huge amounts of damage. And that is further increased by increased cooldown recovery speed. So an insane spell, in my opinion, and one of the thematically, I think, coolest things ever to be created in an ARPG. I'm having a lot of fun using this, and the attack speed is just perfect for the build in combination with the healing hands. The gear is pretty straightforward. As I said, the healing effectiveness is going to be extremely important. Stuff like attunement and strength, vitality, increased armor and health, just standard stuff that you need on a paladin. Increased melee attack speed is extremely important on your weapon, and also the melee fire damage comes in clutch right here. Ideally, you wanted to go for a frailty, fire penetration, or chance to chill on hit on your weapon. I have sealed this FX here. You definitely don't need to seal the chill here. I'm just giving you more options on the item for you to actually go for. And I have like a general rule here when it comes to the items. The higher the FX is, the more important it is you get that one. So for example, all of the exalted things that you can find on these items, they have to be on the item period, and all the other stuff is a nice to have. Ideally, you want to have 4 out of 4 of those, and maybe even something like a sealed one on there as well. As you can see here, I've put like 2 tier 6 affixes here, where obviously the hybrid health is going to be more important than the melee attack speed, but I try to give you a little bit of a guidance here on which of the affix is going to be extremely important on a certain item slot. Then you can find the bases here as well. If you find an opal ring as your second ring here, that's also totally fine. The same vice versa. If you find a gold ring on that, that's more than fine. Extremely important is the Solar Commandment base right here, and also the Leonine Great Helm, because we will use bonus damage taken from critical strikes to basically 0, so it doesn't matter if you get crit or not, you're basically gonna get the same amount of damage. And this is a very easy task to do, especially with this base. And if you are lucky to find this base here as well, there is gonna be no way, shape or form you're gonna die from a critical strike, because your defenses are so extremely high. Obviously, damage mitigation in this build is complete bonkers. Obviously, armor mitigation is extremely high, and it's going to be further increased by all of the stuff we talked about earlier. Acquiring more Sigils of Hope, for example, is going to boost your defenses tremendously, and the block chance 47%, that is obviously also increased by 12% just from having the 4 sigils. Then on top of that, we also have the Vengeance damage reduction, so you are a literal walking fortress. And as you can see here, you can literally tank everything. This is around 300 corruption or so. I'm basically moving towards level 100 on hardcore solo self-found, and I'm going to be pushing the arena leaderboards. I'm very curious where this build can go. The gear is definitely not min-max, so the damage that you can see on the screen right now is definitely very easily improvable, because I haven't really found the items that I really want to have, and this is also currently the non-crit version, so there is huge potential still left in the build. If you are interested in that, I suggest you check out the Twitch that is going to be linked down in the description and also in the pinned comment below. And if you like content similar to this, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel, and I'll see you next time.